Hail, brothers and sisters, welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about this based-ass Muslim man named Amjad Taha and his thoughts on how radical Islamism has been infiltrating the West, how radical Islamism is abusing free speech, and what to do about these radicals. Now, I'll save my thoughts for later in the video. I've only really seen part of this, but I want to go ahead and just give this to you guys. I don't have a script. We're just going to talk about this as it goes along, okay? But before we start, I hope that you all are okay, your health is high, because I know it is the turn of the season, and every time we have break from whether it is school, when I was in college, or now that I'm teaching, I get sick, and I've been sick. I hope you are okay, taking care of yourselves. Go exercise some, drink some tea, and we'll go ahead and get started. Get yourself a good little snack, maybe some blueberries or something.
You cannot be Muslim more than me. You will not be more Arab than I. So why is it that I banned the Muslim Brotherhood and you haven't?
Istanbul, alhamdulillah, now in our hands. Rome one day will be in our hands. And every house and every tent will have a Muslim in it.
Why is it the fact that Islamic Relief is banned in UAE and it's banned in Mecca, but is allowed in Paris and in London? There is a lot of questions to be asked.
More British citizens travelled to the Islamic State to fight in its ranks than joined the British Armed Forces.
We are coming and we will destroy you.
The problem is not with the freedom of speech. The problem is that there is an evil inside your society now using that policy of freedom of speech to abuse it and to destroy your society.
Already, I'm really liking how calm that this guy is speaking about this. He seems to be very collected and knowledgeable on the topic. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I'll leave my thoughts about this specific section for when it comes by, right? But you can tell, like, the difference in the way that he speaks about these things versus, like my people, my fellow Americans, is that this guy grew up in Islamism. I'm sure that he has. And that is a huge difference in how they know how to deal with radicals versus how we think we should deal with the radicals. Now, I'm sure that there are some similarities, but definitely a lot of differences, and I would like to take a look and dive a little bit deeper into these similarities and differences later on in the video.
My name is Stefan Thompson. I'm the founder of VisaGrad24, and I'm here in the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. And today I'm with Amjad Taha, an Emirati geopolitical expert and a great advocate of peace. Amjad.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic to be here with you.
Great to see you finally.
Finally.
Yeah.
Amjad, let's start with the differences between Islam here in the United Arab Emirates and the Islam that we see on our TV screens. The Islam of radicalism that we see everywhere.
When you see on our TVs, I believe the West is what you mean. And on the West, what we see also, we are very shocked most of the time. You see radical Islamists from Brotherhood who are former terrorists or terrorists themselves, but in the West, they have been named as activists. Those who run away from justice in their own country. And those who committed a crime have been.
So here he has said that in their lands, in the UAE, they would consider those people to be terrorists, and then when they come over to America, they're called activists. Like, what is that insane jump that we have here in America? And I really, I know that liberal is really left-aligned, right? It is a far-left ideology, being liberal, or policy, whatever. But a lot of these problems in identifying things really come from these harsh liberal ideologies that are not kind at all to the actual peoples of America. And why? Because, well, you're calling terrorists activists. You're giving them, I guess activist has perhaps a darker connotation to it nowadays, depending on who you talk to. But on the liberal side, activism is a very good thing, and it's often seen that way. And now Charlie Kirk was an activist as well, right? Some people call him radical. I really don't think so. Moderate, radical, somewhere maybe in between those lines. I don't know. We'll talk about that later in another video that they have about Charlie. Going and analyzing a little bit deeper. But with this right here, no, I don't see how this is something that we should be accepting in our country. Is actual terrorists coming in, and what do you think will happen when you import terrorists into your country, and then give them a good name and a pat on the back? They're going to assume that you're weak, and they're going to take advantage of that. And one of the things that is crazy about the far left right now is that they think that they support Islamism so much. And I really don't think there's much wrong with, single Muslims and stuff like that. I've had a good handful of Muslim friends, and they've been some of the nicest people that I've ever met. I've met, but I think most of them in the army, and I'm so glad that I've met them. They are so kind. But when you get into these larger collectives of radicals, no, they're absolutely not like your Muslim neighbor that is just a maybe kind family that is living on their own. They're not really bothering anybody, and they're trying to live happy, fulfilling lives. These radical radical Muslims, they want to kill you. Just like the guy in earlier, he was saying that every house in tent will have a Muslim in it, and that is a little scary. If you're somebody that can't defend themselves against radical people, or really just people in general, right? Radical just makes them probably harder to defend yourself against, especially in today's climate, right? Especially if you're in the UK. Or most places in Europe, except for like Poland, I think, because they don't accept Muslim refugees. And if we see there, maybe I can bring up some stats and pop them up on the screen. They don't have terrorist attacks. Why? Probably because they don't have very many terrorists in their country. And if you take a look, they are surrounded. All the surrounding countries are plagued by terrorist attacks. And how exactly that's defined in Europe, I'm not entirely sure, because these people aren't terrorists. Remember, they're activists. They're people searching for better lives. So there are people that are coming in and invading these countries. Like I said, I have nothing against our Muslim neighbors. I love, just like the Christians say, love thy neighbor. And as Odin says, be kind to all your guests and treat them well. Whether it is a guest in your country, right? It can be extrapolated from that, or a guest in your home. But when the guest starts to burn your home and sleep in your own bed and probably try to, I don't know if I can say this, right? But the R word, your wife and children, yes, that's, no, go ahead and very much so defend yourself against that type of person. That's not what you want in your country. That's not what you want in your home. Let's go ahead and get back to this video.
Been involved in various heinous acts such as rape and beheading and so on. All of those individuals right now, they live in the West as teachers, as lecturers, as doctors, and as protesters, as protesters who protest to glorify the Muslim Brotherhood, the armed forces at least of the Muslim Brotherhood, as we see in the after the 7th of October, by that I mean Hamas. They glorify terrorism and all form of terrorism. And they do not respect the rules and the regulation of the countries that they say. They went there and they had a refugee status there. And as they get the citizenship, they start recruiting the citizens of the West to become hostages of the Islamist propaganda all the way in the Middle East, which their parents ran away from them and they went to the West and they became a citizen. However, this new generation of...
He was talking about how the radicals are basically convincing people in the West to become hostages. Now, do I mean hostages in the sense of they're like tied up and being whipped and probably many other heinous things like he had said? In most cases, probably not. In some, I'm sure, yes. But hostages in the sense of ideological hostages. They are people that are supporting, the liberals are people that are supporting this extreme radical Islamism. And one of the things I don't understand is that a lot of people that are liberal are like the LGBTQI plus whatever it is now, right? If you're like that in one of these places that is a radical Islam, they're going to get killed. From what I know, from what I've heard, if you're gay and they find out in one of these more conservative Islamist countries, you get taken to the top of the building and pushed off, and you die if you're just gay and they find that out.
From there, they start becoming the recruiters of those Islamists in the Middle East, and they're right now at a stage of making more lone wolves. And we saw that lone wolves policy of ISIS. A lot of those extremists who some were European went all the way and became members of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. They actually were members of the Green Lane Mosque, for example, or in Birmingham in UK, in Small Heath, or in Sheffield, or in West Sydney, Australia, or in Canada. So they were part of that civilized culture and that civilization, great civilization in the West. However, because of the scholars that Britain, Canada, or Australia, or any other country, ignoring or ignorance of the fact that this scholar is recruiting and is not speaking about religion, is actually using the space and the place in the West and the freedom of speech to make these children or these students or these people in the West to become the hostage of the Islamist, and then later on to become the soldier that kills his own neighbor.
Maybe I'm interpreting this wrong. I think he's talking about colleges, and if that is the case, then yes, I totally see where he's coming from. A lot of colleges in the U.S., whether they are in red states or blue states or whatever, a lot of them are very blue, in the sense of they're pretty liberal, pretty aligned with the Democratic Party. And not that that's a bad thing, but it often creates these huge echo chambers that can bounce off. They're like a web of echo chambers, if you will, in the sense of how they communicate with each other. Like, for example, my college, or my university, Indiana University in Bloomington, when we had the Free Palestine people in the middle of Don Meadow. And now, there was a whole crazy thing of, there were snipers in the building, and then eventually, after they had been basically made a small village there with walls and a farm and shit like that, some of them became agitators. Now, a lot of them are peaceful, right? But a lot of protests are peaceful, right? It's not the protest that there's people going out and fucking hurting people, and then you had some crazy motherfuckers throwing big rocks at people. That's not okay. That's not a protest anymore. But what I'm saying is that a lot of these universities become basically posts in a way for Islamism, or radical Islamism, really, to get a better foothold in America, because these people graduate and they go out and spread the Islamist propaganda that they are hostages of to greater America. And this is, in my opinion, extremely detrimental to everyone, even if they don't know about what's going on, because like, for example, there was the talk of the city in Texas. I don't know if it happened or not, where they were wanting to put the city under Sharia law. Excuse me? That is not American at all. And I don't even know how is that legally possible to put a city under Sharia law. And now, for example, in someplace in Michigan, I don't remember exactly what town, but the local government there has been pretty much taken over by Muslim people. And I guess the Mamdani in New York, he's crazy Muslim guy. And a lot of them, they know that when they play the victim, the left eats it the fuck up. They eat it up. And then they give them, the left capitulates and gives them whatever they want. And these very conservative Muslim people will go ahead and just continue to take that. You know, they're setting the bait. They're not dumb. They're smart people, right? I'm sure not all of them, right? Just like, you know, any American, not all of us are smart. Some of us are geniuses. And they're going to be these people that are the leaders of whatever movements, the Muslim Brotherhood that is in America, or whatever groups there are. They're going to take advantage of these people that are giving them opportunities to come in here and invade the country. And they've been kind of successful in some areas. And that's concerning. It is concerning. I really think I've mentioned it once or twice in videos before, but radical Islamism is extremely antithetical to just the West in general. Yeah, the values do not match at all. We had Western civilization is built off the foundation of Greek and Roman civilization, and is really a mixed melting pot of that and a lot of Christian ethics. It's one reason why so many people in Western civilizations are not as violent as the people in these some of these Middle Eastern countries, right, where violence has reigned and has been the king, tyrant, if you will, for generations, maybe millennia, right? Is for thousands of years. And these people have been in strife. Yeah.
Then joined the British Armed Forces.
Yeah, the numbers are huge. We're speaking about more than...
See, this is why London has become Londonistan. And what is happening to the British people right now? They're not largely, there's a good portion of them that are not British. These are people that have come in from other countries and are polluting the minds. It's just an extreme conversion and perversion of the peoples of the UK with these radical extremist Islamist ideas and ideologies. And the people of the UK and in Europe as much of a whole are suffering because of this. I'll pull up some statistics and I'll post them up in here as I get the chance, but holy shit. It's just insane.
7,000, I think, some of the Western who at least hold a European passport.
Why do you think Islamism is finding such fertile soil in Europe?
Two things. Well, various things, to be honest, not the two things. But the first thing is the fact that there is they abuse the freedom of speech. So what they do, they use the freedom of speech to justify anti-Semitism, for example. And they turn the anti-Semitism to become an opinion rather than a crime.
Sure.
So that space of freedom, but the fact that you're...
I don't know if anti-Semitism is considered a crime. Now it's this different if you go out and like, for example, God, I think his name is Carlos Brown, the insane fucking monster that murdered Irina Zarutska. Like when he killed her and he said, yeah, I got that white girl. It would be a hate crime and more illegal if someone went out and killed a Jew, right? And said, yeah, I got that Jew. That would make it more illegal. But in the sense of in America, at least, you're free to hate whoever you want. And you're free to say hateful things. And people should be able to voice their opinions. Now, however, when you use anti-Semitic comments and you say, "Oh yes, Hitler was right. We should kill the Jews." No, that's illegal. That is illegal, and that should not ever be pushed for in any society, right? Whether it is American, Somalian, Asian, or whatever country in Asia, or anywhere in the whole world, that is not okay. There's there's lots of stereotypes about every ethnicity, and Jews have plenty of their own, right? And a lot of people nowadays, I guess a lot of people for quite a while have been pretty anti-Semitic. It's just not okay when it comes down to calling for violence. Like the same thing I was saying about Hassan. You cannot call out for violence against other people because that is the abuse of free speech. And I think that's what he is talking about here, is abusing the freedom of speech in a way of making it to where these people are oppressed or really hurt in a lot of situations. Or killed.
Europeans or the West need to understand these Islamists right now, they know the era. They know this problem that you're having. Yes, the problem is not with the freedom of speech. The problem is that there is an evil inside your society now. It's become a member of your society, using that policy of freedom of speech to abuse it and to destroy your society, to destroy your universities. At one point, universities such as Harvard University, Oxford University, and those prestigious universities, people in the East and the West, they want to become a member of, or they want to study or teach there. Right now, when I remember Harvard University, I remember protests where Jewish students get persecuted, be swore at, be insulted. It's a place, as much as I see from the images recently, for riots, for people insulting each other, for teachers get attacked or having a different perspective or opinion, people fighting, people with masks covering their faces with flags of terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and all this. So they turned the.
I love my friends that I've met here in this city, but I know that some of them don the mask and go out in. I really don't believe any of my friends are violent, but I sometimes wonder what really goes on in some of my friends' heads, and that is concerning. Especially me as not that especially me in comparison to some other people like Jews, right? But I'm a straight white man, right? that has got its own cons as it is, and you never really know who has what in their head and who is willing to either hurt you for what you believe in or call for somebody else to do the same thing to you. Even if they're friends. I recently had someone who I was pretty good friends with absolutely blow up on me, and I haven't talked to them since. Because I made a post about Charlie Kirk and how these monsters had killed him. And then this person absolutely went batshit crazy and was saying like, "Oh, you've never talked about the kids in Gaza and all that jazz." And like, just because I've not spoken about them on a post on Snapchat or YouTube or whatever does not mean that I don't think that's fucking awful. Goddamn, like, there are good times to hold your tongue, right? I could go into plenty of Havamal verses from the Gestatat, talking about how it is a wise man should not let their tongue be loose. And a lot of these people are fools.
The place of education and knowledge to a war zone. When that happens, your civilization is either going down or it's breaking, and it's breaking under your observation. You're allowing it to happen. Mm-hmm. You can put rules and regulation, deport those Islamists.
Yeah.
Do not let them harm your children. Do not let them harm your society, your community. Do not let them be the people who wake up on the 8th of October, for example, and tell you to boycott Khala.
exactly like he was saying. So, and like I was saying, this guy has grown up in these countries. Him and his people know how to deal better with these radical Islamists than a lot of people in America do, and a lot of people in Europe, for that example as well. Um, when you look at America and much of Europe, we're for some reason so welcoming, and maybe you could chalk that up to some sort of grand hospitality that we have, but I really don't think it is. I think it is a lot of propaganda, a lot of brainwashing from different universities, the wrong things being taught in school. A lot of times in school, various schools across the U.S. Don't know how UK school systems really work, but a lot of kids are really taught, oh, you're oppressed and white people are the oppressors. Shut the fuck up, dude. That's just insane. And a lot of times it spreads over to stuff like this, where people are not ready to fight for their values. They're not ready to fight for things that they believe are right. And I'm not saying that the liberals don't know anything. I just think that they know a lot of wrong things. Damn, I'll say that again. I don't think that the liberals don't know anything. I just think that the liberals know the wrong things. And they put their faiths, their values, their morals, all of their beliefs, and a lot of times their whole spirit into something immoral. And sometimes straight up evil. You need to use your own brain and to see the world that is around you, Not saying that I don't get duped from time to time, because I'm just a guy and I'm also retarded too, I'm just a different kind of retard. We need more good retards in the world and less bad retards.
Attack a Jewish restaurant just for being a Jew, and they justify it and they allow it. Don't be. This is your country. This is your civilization.
Mm-hmm.
You pointed out deportations, which I obviously couldn't agree more with. However,
not to pause this so much, but I guess I am putting my commentary in, right? If these people are not citizens, like natural-born citizens of your country, then get them the fuck out of there. If they're not assimilating, and instead they're colonizing, and they're changing the demographic, they're changing the crux of your civilization, no, you cut that limb off. You throw that limb out into the ocean, and hopefully it'll float back to its own country. Yes, if they're able to get there on their own and wiggle their way into society that a lot of times they really just don't belong in, because they will not assimilate. Not that I'm not saying that Muslims don't belong in America, Muslims don't belong in the UK or Europe. I'm saying that the people of any ethnicity, any religion, anything, if they don't at least try to assimilate into whatever culture they're going into, there's going to be extreme culture clash. And a lot of people don't, for some reason, a lot of people don't understand that. Why? How do you not get the idea that these cultures that are so different will not get along very well if you just smash them together out of nowhere? It is insane.
one of the structural problems that we have in Europe, certainly Western Europe, all the data that I have seen points to the fact that second and third generation migrants are much more likely to be radicals than first generation migrants, which means that if we're talking about France, many of the migrants are obviously from the Maghreb region, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. In the UK, many come from Pakistan, Somalia. The second and third generation is more likely to be radicalized, and they are already citizens. Now, how do you deal with a radicalized second or third generation migrant that you cannot deport because he is a citizen of your country?
Yeah, with those, you change the rules and the regulation when it comes to radicalization. For example, one great example of this is the fact that
solution?
Why did they become radical?
I would say there's many reasons.
One of which is they do have their own, they start separating themselves from the rest of the country and the rest of the community. One. Two, they start having those schools, what we call the jihadist school of Saturday, Sunday, so on weekend. Now, why did the government allow those scholars to be the scholars of those mosques? If the scholar does not support coexistence, peace, prosperity, and tolerance, he should not be that teacher of that new generation. Because what that student goes, or that person when he attends the mosque, is going there for the knowledge, for spirituality, and so on. Now, when you have the scholar himself, is the evil.
I have a theory about this that I will talk about later on in the video.
Well, the result of that is that conduct of evil, which the individual himself will carry and do. The change for that is the educational system. So they need to be first look into those mosques, look into the societies, bring them more close to each other. That they need to have a lot of activities together and so on. And also, why is it the fact that a person that lives in Dubai, a Muslim person from the same background of the person that lives in France or in UK, third, fourth generation here, they're still open mind, they're still Muslim, they're still conservative, yet they're not radical. They're not supporters or glorifiers of terrorists. But a person who is a Muslim living all the way in France or Britain is more radicalized and is more, there is more likely that he's going to become a member of the ISIS or a Muslim Brotherhood terrorist organization. Is the fact that the West, up to this point, the media is justifying the existence of, for example, Islamic Relief as a charity organization in UK or in the West. Why? It's not a charity organization. It's
the crazy thing about this that he's saying right here is that you have the homegrown Muslims in their native countries that are not like what we see get propagandized and shit out on the media that we see in the West. A lot of them are really not like that. Now, I don't know all the details about non-radical Islamist culture. Maybe I'll make a video about that. So if you want to see that and see my non-biased, as non-biased as I can be, my breakdown of that type of culture, the non-radical Islamist culture versus radical Islamist culture, and I guess the different types of radicals, right? Let me know. I would love to do something like that. I love going deeper in and kind of peeling everything apart and going to look at the insides of whatever is going on there and try to apply it to how we see things and how we interact with things here in America.
It's a foundation or an organization that steals the money from the West, the pockets of the people who are willing to help. Yet it takes that money and it gives it to organizations, terrorist organizations in the Middle East, under the name of a school and hospitals. But those schools are run by actual Islamist terrorists who fund.
This reminds me of when Doge was finding out that all this money was being sent to these places that don't fucking exist. Right, and then there's pictures of Hamas and Hezbollah and all these other fucking terrorist organizations with U.S. materials. Isn't that insane? I think really this is a lot of what he is talking about right here. When America was just straight up sending so much money and material to these motherfuckers.
Fund and support even Hamas. What, you cannot be Muslim more than me. You will not be more Arab than I. So why is it that I banned the Muslim Brotherhood and you haven't? Why is it the fact that Islamic Relief is banned in UAE and is banned in Mecca, but is allowed in?
And those are the most Muslim places too, and they know. To keep the crazy motherfuckers away, to keep the actual insane retards out of their society. They do not allow that stuff. Why do we allow that to happen? Our women are getting fucking raped. Our children are getting raped. What the fuck are we doing? People in the UK, the rest of Europe, except for Poland, because they have their head and not in their ass. And we need to pull ourselves together and protect our people. And I'm not saying, like I said, I will make this very clear. I'm not saying that every Muslim is like this. It's just the radical ones. And there's just a lot of them. I think there's like fucking 2 billion Muslims in the world. It is a huge religion, huge faith. And it's with so many numbers like that, you know, you're going to have a percentage that is radical. Okay. And with this like giant diaspora, if you want to call it that, this migration, this colonization of the global colonization by Muslims, the percentage is probably getting higher. I don't know for certain, but that's my logic brain thinking that's probably how that's going to happen, right? We saw that people in the UK, there are more of them going to go migrating to these Muslim countries to go fight in the Muslim armies instead of the British army. What the fuck is wrong with that?
In Paris and in London. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of questions to be asked.
Yeah, I think there's many more questions that we will explore in a follow-up to this. This has been a very good warm-up session.
Thank you
For an upcoming series of videos with Amjad. Amjad, thank you so much.
Alright, now this video, first I have a few things to say before I talk about my theory. This video was amazing. I really enjoyed the way that this man talked. Amjad, he is very calm, very collected, and very critical of the radical Islamist cultures that pervade now much of the West, and how they had pervaded the places of Mecca and those other places that he had mentioned in the video, but no longer so much anymore because they do not allow it there. As I said, he had grown up in these areas. His family, probably for generations, has been in these areas, and they know more how to deal with these radical Muslims than we in the West do. And that being said, he is pretty strict on how he believes that these people need to be treated. Deport them, do not allow them into your country in the first place, and to change the laws if you need to in order to interact with those that are radicals but also citizens. Secondly, I think that this is very important coming from someone like Amjad. He's not like the typical people that you see in America. He is a Middle Easterner from the Middle East saying these things. And I really do not think this would be so impactful if it was somebody like me that was originally saying these things, right? Him speaking all of this kind of subverts this sort of dynamic that a lot of people have in America, as well as many places in Europe, that if you are critical of a culture other than your own, then you're just a racist. You're a bigot, and you don't have any real say in how other cultures operate. But this guy is much more directly related to these Islamist radicals. Not saying that he's a radical, I'm just saying that he has actual experience. His people have experience. His lawmakers have experience in dealing with these people. Aside from all of this, go give the original video a like, it's fantastic. Give them a subscribe and tell them that you came from Ramund Redbeard. And also leave your thoughts in the comments below about what you think about this video and my own commentary. But now I can get to my theory as to why we see so much dissent all across the world right now, as well as this kind of Muslim, you could say perhaps a diaspora, but really it is not even a migration, it is a colonization of the world by radical Muslims. And these are not the kind of Muslims that are your neighbors. They are not your friendly people that you know in your neighborhood. These are people that, like earlier in the very beginning of the video, believe that there will be at least one Muslim in every home, in every tent. And these people, when they come into your home or tent or wherever you live, they're probably not going to be happy with you being in the same house. They're probably going to try to kill you because these people are trying to conquer these countries. They're trying to conquer America, trying to conquer many different parts of Europe. We can't let that happen. If they come into your home They're probably going to try to rape your wife, your children, and probably try to kill you, to take your home. Because a lot of these radical Islamists, radical Muslims, believe that it is their duty to go out and conquer new lands for Islam. And that is a scary, scary thought. And as for my theory, I really think that many of the governments around the world, not all of them, but many of them are trying to take advantage of this radical Muslim ideology and spread it across the world. But why? I think this is because if you take a look at history, all civilizations across time, you see that when people are divided, when people are fighting, when people are bickering, and when people are at each other's throats, it is so much easier for those people to be manipulated. Humans are an extremely tribal species, and if there are tribes to be made, tribes will be made. It is just the way of the world. It is how humans operate. Oftentimes we defend things that are similar to ourselves, and we will often oppose things or have some sort of bias to things that are not like us. And the descent created from this innate tribalism that is really ingrained into humanity can be weaponized by governments to sow dissent and destruction, so that way the peoples of the world cannot unite. And what else do you see if you look across all history, all civilizations across time? You see that when people unite, that they are an unstoppable force. And with things like the internet, we have the world at our fingertips. But it is this type of nasty tribalism that pushes people, even good people, to radicalism at times, to hatred, to racism. And then I think that the pendulum will swing so far that these people that have been pushed to one extreme or the other will want some sort of regulation. And whether that is through law or through something on the internet to keep certain peoples away, they will be begging the governments for that. And we see the beginnings of that with, or perhaps later stage somewhere, I'm not sure, with Palantir. I have to make a whole video on that itself. It is an online surveillance system that requires a much more time to explain. However, I really think that this is where a lot of governments are going. They're trying to go to some sort of globalization of weak, separated people, so that way they can control them. What I think we need to do, brothers and sisters, is talk to each other. Go and talk to people that you do not normally talk to. Try to find something that you guys have in common. Try to find some way to erase, to burn away the borders that are created by hatred and ignorance. And I really think that a lot of things can be solved that way. However, there are certain things, like these radical Islamist people, where you need to be cautious. You need to learn how to protect yourself, protect the ones that you love, and to be so critical of these people in a just way that perhaps they may change their ways, or they will be pushed away into societal nothingness. That way it will be much safer for the peoples across the world. So that way they do not have to deal with this type of radicalism quite as much. All this being said, I really, really want to thank you for watching all of this. And if you made it all the way here, you are fucking awesome. Thank you so much, and I want to wish you the best of health in this turning of seasons. I am sick right now. I feel like this happens all the time when I go on break and want to enjoy myself and get things done. But I'm still getting things done, even though I'm sick. I am going to try to make a tackle harpa in the few days left that I have a break. And maybe I can show you guys the process. I don't think it'll sound fantastic. I don't know how good it'll be because I've never done anything like this before in my life, but I think it'll be a fun project, and I think the sound is very connecting to my Norse peoples. So maybe I'll play a song for you, but in the meantime, go and make yourself some healthy food, Go exercise, go touch some grass before it dies in the winter. Hug your family, hug your friends, tell them that you love them. And if you liked the video, grab your biggest hammer, smash that bell, like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts down below. Really, I want to hear them all. And remember, friends, in the name of the All-Father, find a way or make one.